Howdy everybody, Steve here, KM9G. Today we've got a bit of a chicken and egg scenario. We need to get on M17. There aren't any M17 radios. I can't show you how to build the M17 Pi-Star dashboard because I don't have a way to prove that it works because I don't have a working M17 radio either. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to take a Module17, and this thing has a nice little 9-pin connector that will connect to the back of your 9600 baud capable radio. I'm going to show you how to do this for the Yaesu FTM6000, and then in a future video, or in a past video, depending on what time you're watching this in, I'll show you how to set up the Pi-Star dashboard. We'll make a couple of contacts. So when you see how the Pi-Star dashboard's working in this video, it's because I already did it in that future video. Time travel's fun. Let's get to it. This is the LilyGo Module17. It comes in this nice little plastic case. You can get it with the screen already mounted, or you can get it without the screen, and then you can mount your own screen. It also comes with these jumpers here, but I have not found a need for these jumpers yet, so these will go in my spare parts bin. This Module17 here comes from Doc Brad, a channel supporter who has sent this in for us to work on, and we did a live stream with Doc where we got all the firmware loaded on it, and I wanted to take a moment here to do this for you in a short form video instead of in a long live stream. There is already a new version of this hardware, but all of the concepts transfer over, and I will be looking forward to getting my hands on the new version of the hardware as well. I'm going to use my Raspberry Pi 4, and you'll notice that this has the MMDVM hat on it. This is actually the Pi-Star that I have set up with W0CHP's Pi-Star dashboard, the WPSD, and you'll need that for running Module17. I will have another video on how to get that all set up. But I'm also going to use this particular Raspberry Pi to do the flashing of the Module17. So what I will need to do is take a USB cable and plug it in, and then plug it into the Module17, and you can see that there is some power there. And what we need to do is hold down the escape button, which is this upper left button here, while we apply power to it for the first time. And that should put it into DFU mode. So I need to SSH into my Pi-Star machine, and my Pi-Star happens to be 192.168.12.172, and the password is Raspberry. Next up, we're going to need to install the dfu-util program. Device Firmware Update is what I think DFU stands for. So sudo apt install dfu-util. And in my case, it's already installed, so it's just going to tell me that it's already installed and is the newest version, which is great. Now let's go get the firmware that we need. If you look at the GitHub page for the Module17 project, you will find this link. I will link it down in the description below, but you're looking for this pre-built binary part that is available here and here. So let's grab the first one, and we need this OpenRTX Mod17 wrap file. So I'm going to right-click on that. I'm going to say copy link. So next up, we need to download that file. I'm going to use the wget command. I'm going to paste in that URL that we just copied and hit enter. And it's going to download that file. Since you already saw that we did the power on, press the escape trick, I want to verify that the device is on and is listening and is connected to the computer. So I do lsusb, which is going to list all of my USB devices. And you can see right here, STM microelectronics STM device in DFU mode. So now we know that we're connected. If you don't see that, you might have a USB charging cable instead of a USB data cable, or you might have gotten the keystroke wrong, or whatever the case may be. Not a big deal, just find a better cable or try the keystroke again until you do see this thing come up. Because you can run the dfu-util command quite a few times before you realize that it's a bad cable, and that would be a pain in the butt. So let's do this, and now we know. The next thing to do is to copy this command line here and run it on the Pi-Star machine. So I'm going to paste it in, and I'm going to press enter. And this is what it looks like when it's doing its job. We are making some progress here. Otherwise, you might get some type of error message that indicates that it can't find the device or something along those lines. And because we tested it out first, I'm pretty sure we're going to be successful here. And that's it. Okay, so now that we have that fully flashed on, we need to cycle the power. So we unplug it, plug it back in, and now it says OpenRTX, and we have some stuff on the screen. So success. Excellent. Before we get too far, I want to stop being naked. So my friend Garth, WG2G, has created this 3D printed printout for me from the files that you can find in the GitHub repository, which again is linked at the bottom here. but this is a very nice, very high quality print. Garth has done a fantastic job. You almost can't see any layer lines unless you're really, really looking hard. And it comes with the buttons. So we're going to install the buttons. And then we're going to install the module. Well, first, before I get yelled at, there we go. Got to get rid of that screen protector. And Garth took the time to print out a black one and a gray one. And during the live stream, I thought it would be a good idea if we mixed up the colors. And that looks really good. So let me get some screws in there to get that screwed down in place. And these are M2.5 by 8 screws that I'm using. Case is all screwed up nice and tight. One of the things when you are printing out these files is you want to make sure you do not forget the knob. And the knob is a little bit of a loose fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some super glue and apply it to the knob to hold it in place. Once you have all this together, you can still take the case apart, even with the knob staying on there. And then when that dries, we will have a knob that doesn't fall off. But this is a really nice looking design for this case. Check that out. The 12-volt power supply, the USB, the DE19 connector, the screen. The buttons look good. I like the contrast. I like the texture. This is fantastic. The next thing you're going to need in order to make progress on this is a 9600 baud capable radio. This is the Yaesu FTM 6000, and it needs to have a data interface on the back. But you'll notice that that data interface there doesn't look anything like that data interface there. So we need to make a cable. You're going to need a 9-pin adapter, and they make these really neat cable kits like this one here. This one is from HD Link, and there will be a link in the description down below for this. But when you're done, you wind up with a very professional looking cable on a very professional looking boot. And this just opens up, and there are what's called terminal blocks inside that allows you to screw the wires in. It comes with a screwdriver that allows you to open and close the terminals. But these are a little tight, so you might actually want to use a real screwdriver instead. But you're still going to need a real screwdriver in order to use these Phillips head screws. And what you'll do is you will put the wire in through the rubber grommet that is included, and that'll make your cable look nice. And then you use this piece here as strain relief on your cable and screw your cable down in place. And now you have all of your wires going over there. It's a pretty nice looking cable setup. Let me show you the wiring diagram here. This is going to be linked in the description as well, but it'll show you where the cable, it'll show you where the wires go on the DE9 connector and where they go on the CT167 cable, which is what you need for the FTM 6000. Be very careful when you are connecting these up. In each of these cables, there are 2 different black wires. And I've got the one black wire, and it goes to, I'm using the continuity mode on my multimeter. So if I connect straight through, I get a noise, and if I don't connect straight through, I don't get any noise, so I know I've got the wrong one. All right, so that is a good match. Check these, check these, check these, and then check these one more time before you're done, and then check them one more time after that, because you don't want to blow up your radio. Radios are expensive. And when you are all done, like I said, you have a very nice professional looking cable. This is the CT167 end for the radio, and this is the DE9 end for the Module 17. A look inside the cable shows that you will not have to connect every single wire up. And so what I'm going to do is take care to dress these wires so that they don't cause any problems or any shorts. Step 1 is going to be to cut them flush, and then for step 2, I'm going to put some shrink wrap on, and that will protect your wires from coming in contact with anything they shouldn't come in contact with, and it will protect your radio. And we've got the case all together, we've got the firmware installed and updated. We need to get a couple of last second things done. We need to press enter, and then we need to find M17 on here under settings, and then we need to change the call sign to be our call sign, and mine is KM9G. And now we're done. And once you get all the way out, you can see that it says KM9G in the corner now instead of OpenRTX. One of the last things you're going to need to do that won't be terribly obvious is connect a microphone, speaker microphone, up to the K connector port on the side. It would be very intelligent, and I understand why they didn't do it, but it would be very intelligent for you to use the microphone that comes on your radio and not plug one into this board because you already have a microphone on your radio. However, this is the actual thing that's doing all of the encoding of the voice and the decoding of the voice, and it's just sending out 9600 baud packet data to the radio itself. So the radio's microphone doesn't have a way of keying this up and doing all of the progression and everything. So that's why you need to plug that thing in, and if you don't and you grab your radio's microphone by accident, none of this will work. So now here comes the fun part. Connect up your DE9 connector to the back of the Module17. Make sure your microphone is connected. Make sure it is powered up. I'm using a USB-C cable, which is attached to the Raspberry Pi power supply and plugged into the wall socket. And then on the back of the radio, we have our data cable plugged into our data port, and I have my coax jumper plugged into my dummy load because I'm only transmitting within the same room. And then on the front of the radio, make sure that your frequency is tuned to that of your Pi-Star dashboard. Make sure your TX power is set to low as it can go because your Pi-Star doesn't need to be overloaded. Again, you're in the same room. And then option 16 on the deep F menu, long press the F key to get in there, is packet speed, and we want to have packet speed set to 9600 BP, and we should be good to go. So I'm going to take the microphone that is plugged into the side here, and when I key the microphone, you can hear the relay in the radio, and you can see the radio is transmitting. And we have success. Our dashboard can see us. So now we can actually key up and say, hi, Kilo Mike 9 Golf on M17C. Kilo Mike 9 Golf. Anybody out there? M17 is a pretty new mode. A lot of people hang out on M17-M17, Reflector Charlie, Module C, whatever the terminology is. That's where you'll find a bunch of people. There are almost 200 different rooms right now that you can join into, and each of those has a bunch of different modules within them. So finding somebody to talk to isn't going to be terribly easy. However, if you connect and then you go look at the list like I'm showing here, you'll be able to see that you are connected. Don't be frustrated if you don't get connected at first, because I actually had to go out and do a WPSD update before I was able to get connected, and it was flashing telling me it needed to be done, so I went ahead and did it, and now it works. Hopefully that didn't scare you away from M17 and getting started. This project is still on the skyrocket hockey stick curve of awesomeness going up in the world, and is looking like it is going to be a pretty amazing thing. Since I got the Module 17, they've already come out with a couple updates to the hardware. You can go through all the trouble to go through your favorite PCB house and make up your own boards, or you can go to LilyGo, and there's a link in the description down below for that, and order up one of these and follow along. The new boards will still work with the instructions that I have. There is a whole list of radios that this works with. If your radio is 9600 baud capable and has a 9600 baud adaptable port on the back, and you're happy doing ham stuff like making cables, then get after it. All of the commands and everything that I did and all the websites and all that jazz are linked in the description down below as well. There's a video right over here I think you'll enjoy next. Thanks for being awesome. I'll see you over there.